everyone, and welcome to the next episode of What's Your Mess? Mental, Emotional, Social Status of Life. I am your host, Tracey D. Armstrong, and today we have another amazing guest that's here to share her story, her triumphs, her resilience, and her strength that has helped her overcome her mess in her life. So I'm going to get out of the way and let her introduce herself.
Hi, good morning, Tracy. Thank you so much for inviting me on here. It's such an honor to be part of this. So what I do is I call myself a confidence coach because basically confidence is the key to everything.
Mhm.
I'm an author, I'm divorce recovery and dating expert, and I mainly work with women after a midlife divorce. Um, because I've been there, done it. And the women that I come across, often when you've been through something like this, you don't feel the best about yourself, and that
Mhm.
holds you back from getting where you want to get to in life, whether it be moving on in your career, changing your status in life, or just dating even. People don't feel right about themselves, so this is what I do. I help them move on, and I get to the place where they need to feel confident and secure and in control of their life, basically.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Confidence coach. Everybody needs that confidence, and that confidence builds sometimes.
Yeah.
But like you said, you haven't always been at that level. And I love the fact that you're reaching back and reaching out to help others who may be going through some of the things that you've gone through. So let's tell the audience about one of your messes that you may have gone through that can help to encourage them.
Yeah, well, I've had many messes, but the main one that led me down this path is so I was 44, a stay-at-home mother, four kids, had a wonderful life, I thought, fairy tale, whatever. Um, and all of a sudden, one day I'm sitting in my bedroom, it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a Sunday, and my husband walks in and said, I need to tell you something. And I go, what? He goes, I'm divorcing you. I don't love you anymore. And I was like, "What?" I had no clue. I didn't see it coming, probably my fault in hindsight, like, I should have seen it coming. But that was, there I was thinking life was perfect, my whole life was planned out, I knew exactly where we were going, kids were gonna get older, retirement, the whole deal. And then suddenly, boom, it's it all gone. And I had no idea what was coming next. Um, so that's kinda where I was. And it led me to do some really silly things and led me down a path to where I just was not feeling good about myself. And luckily I had children, and that made me get out of bed every day. Can't
Mhm.
lie down and pull the cover over your heads when you have four kids. So it did keep me going. People thought I was like, they kept saying to me, "You're amazing. How are you doing this? How are you doing that?" But the problem was, what they didn't really see, because I'm very good at hiding it, was the actual mess that I was
Mhm.
inside and the way I felt about myself.
Mhm.
That's basically where I was with that. Yeah.
So let me ask you there, like how long had you been married? Because you say you were 44 with four kids. How long had y'all been in the
Well,
marriage?
we'd been together for 22 years. I met him when I was 22, and I was married at that point for 17 years. So my kids were 15, 13, 11, and 8.
Wow. And just out of the blue,
Yeah, it
that's just crazy. So how did that affect you mentally? Because I know, like you say, you're a mess inside. So what was your mental state?
Well, what was my mental state? So, right, suddenly my whole life was flipped upside down. Like I just didn't know what to think. I mean, I guess at the time when I'm looking back at it, some of the things I put up with obviously did not have great self-esteem, but it really just made me feel really bad about myself. Like, what did I do? Yeah,
Mhm.
what could I have done to fix this? This must be my fault, right? Um, I had no idea what was coming. I was completely terrified. And a lot of people are like, well, he doesn't deserve you, you just need to find somebody else, you'll be fine. Not a good idea. That is like the worst advice, but you find that everybody says that to you. So yeah, mentally I was completely in a panic inside, and I just I was almost, what it's like when you don't know what to do, but you know you should do something, but what happens is you end up paralyzed almost. Like emotionally and not physically, like you can move around, but it's like you're sitting on the couch and you're thinking, I should get up and go do this, or I should get up and find a job, or I should, do whatever. But you just can't. And you find yourself, finding things like watching ridiculous TV programs, or maybe, eating too much, or maybe scrolling on your phone and like buying things, stuff like that. It puts you in that mindset where you just can't move on. And so you'll do anything to take your mind off what's really going on.
Right. That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And then you kind of touched on emotions, but like emotionally, how did that impact your life?
Well, emotionally, emotionally, I thought I was doing okay, but I was just not a very happy person. I was not. And I think looking back, I mean, my kids are awesome and they're all adults now, obviously. But I think it affected them a little bit. Like I was trying to be cheerful and whatever, but I think, I was a little snappy. I shouldn't have been. Um, so I just, it was hard for me to trust anybody for sure. I'd had trust issues before, but this just really tanked it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was hard. I was a very sort of sad person. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and grumpy. I was
Okay.
not the best person to be around, basically. Yeah.
Right. And so do you feel like the emotions that you had inside were the sad and it was coming out in an anger? Or do
Yeah.
you feel like you were putting on a happy face trying to cover the sadness? Or was it a combination?
It was a combination. Like I thought I was doing it, and people are like, "Oh, you're coping great," but I was pretty bitter and angry, basically.
Mm,
I would say that's where I was. Yeah.
I can
So,
imagine.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Bitter and angry.
Because
And
the
then,
truth is you're terrified, you're fearful is what it really is. Um,
um,
and that comes out in those ways. So,
right, fearful of not knowing what's going to happen, not knowing what to do next, not knowing your next move, especially if you've been in that situation for 17 years. It's like, okay, now what? And you kind of mentioned you were a little snappy. So, did that affect you socially? Or, like, did you decide to just stay at home? Did you not want to hang around at people? Or,
well, it was kind of a two-stage thing. So first what happened was, so I'm English and my entire family is in England. So my ex is American and his family was nearby. He has a very large family. So we literally spent every holiday, all the time, everything with his family.
mm,
However, the minute he walked out that door for another woman, I was out. This is what it felt like. Felt like a giant hand had come in, plucked me out of my life and replaced somebody else for them.
mm,
And they just moved on. And I was like, okay. So there was that. So my whole, Christmas vacations, things like that, that had gone. A lot of our friends were his friends because he didn't really like anybody that I wanted to be friends with. However, luckily I did keep a few, I had a core group of friends that I was with. So I didn't go out at first. No, it was hard. Um, you don't want to go, you married friends all of a sudden are like, oh, we can't invite her because she'll feel bad. You know what I mean?
mm,
Like they're like, I didn't really know any divorced women. So it was like, okay. Literally something that happened to me was right afterwards. I was walking down the aisle of a supermarket and there was a woman coming towards me that I knew from a club that we had belonged to. And I know she saw me and she turned around and went the other way, thinking that, oh, I'll avoid her. Because people seem to think it's kind of weird. People are almost like either they're too embarrassed to say anything to you because they don't want to make you feel bad. Or it's almost like they think it's contagious. Like if she got divorced, then I don't want to hang out with her because maybe I can get, this could happen to me. It's kind of a
mhm,
combination. Eventually, through one of my married friends, I always say I went on a blind date with another friend. She said, you got to meet this woman. She's also going through a divorce. And so I did meet this woman but then it went kind of the other way. Then we were like crazy. There was me and two other women and we were a little nuts. We would go out when I didn't have my kids and we would stay out till 2 a.m. All the stuff that I didn't do when I was younger because I met my husband in Sierra Leone because I was in a voluntary organization teaching. So, and he was in the Peace Corps. So I'd gone straight from college to Africa to meeting him to come into America. So I hadn't done all those things that, you do in your 20s. So
Right.
I was kind of doing them in my 40s and it got a little not so. Um,
Hmm.
so it was like one, it was a big seesaw, but neither of them were
Right.
good. So
And I can imagine, like, you like when you just gave that timeline, it's like you really never had the time to live on your own as an adult. And
right.
so with that, you're like, hey, let's do us.
Yeah.
But like you said, so your social life went from, that was a great analogy, like you said, about being plucked out and then replaced, like for real. So with that, that made me think about like your status of life. So just wondering, like you ended up keeping all the kids, just
Oh yeah.
asking
I had the
you.
kids.
And so how did y'all status of life change when you went through the divorce?
Well, it changed pretty big, actually. I mean, we were, look, fortunately for me, my ex-husband did very well. And we were used to we belonged to a country club and we did this. Well, that was gone, first of all. So, although I did find that I really actually loved the public beach once we got, I'm like, oh, this is nice, actually. I don't have to deal with cliques of people. It's kind of cool. Um, so yeah, I was very concerned about money. We did sell, we lived in, the house that we'd lived in, I did sell it. Um, and we moved to a smaller house. I mean, it still wasn't tiny. I had well, one of my daughters was going to college when I moved. She didn't even get a bedroom. So,
Mhm.
because I'm like, you're out. Sorry, love. You sleep with your sister when you come home. So I moved to a smaller house in a different neighborhood, and I had to think about how am I going to budget? Like, what's this whole money thing? Because I'd never dealt with the money aspect of it, which is honestly bizarre because before I got married, I was a very intelligent woman. I like coped all by myself, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I don't know how to pay the bills. Oh, it was ridiculous to think that way. But
Mhm.
this is when you've been married for so long, and this is what you keep being told all the time is that, oh, I'll do this. You don't know how to do it. You start to believe that about yourself, you know.
Right.
So
Mhm.
yeah, it was different. It was a different place in life, but it was fine. I mean,
It was a change, though. It
it
was
was
a
a
big
change. It was a
change.
big
Yes.
change. Yeah.
And so, with all of that, how did you come out? Like you say, y'all moved, you got the different house, you downsized, you changed your social life. How did you get your mental and your emotional like back on track in order to continue and get to where you are now?
Yeah, well, it was I got pretty low first. So basically, I realized I ended up jobless. I was single because I'd had this disaster, awful, god awful relationship that I look back on it now and I'm like, oh my goodness, why didn't my friends tell me what to do? I was single, I was terrified, I didn't want to get into another crazy relationship. You know, I couldn't sleep. I was totally stressed out. I was worried about money. Yeah, I was eating too much. I was probably drinking a little too much wine. And basically I'd get up every day and I'd look in the mirror and I was like, who is this woman? Like, I don't like who I am. I don't like this person. And I suddenly one morning I woke up and I honestly just thought to myself, you know what, you can do better than this. This is not, you got to, I've got three of my kids are girls. I have
Mhm.
to set a good example. And this is not a good example. So what am I going to do? Because clearly what's going on is not working. So I basically reached out for help. I found myself a coach. And this is how I got into coaching myself. Realized that there were all these amazing people out there who are helping people or changing their own lives. And through that, I started meditating. I started learning about what I could actually do with my life and
Mhm.
how I could better myself. And it's a mindset over a position in life thing, right? And
Mhm.
so I started to change my mindset. And from there, everything just kind of went uphill. It got better and better. And, I got a job, I was coaching, I was teaching, and things just really turned around for me.
Okay. And just wondering, like, how long from the divorce to where you woke up that morning and you decided this isn't me. Who is this woman? Like you look, I can
It was
imagine
a
that.
long
You looked
time.
in the mirror.
Yeah. It's gotta be 5 years, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
5
Uh,
years in that lowness, and then you look in the mirror and you say, I don't like what I'm seeing. Now, how did you know, or did someone suggest you get a coach, or had you seen something? What got you
well,
into that
you know what
coaching?
happened? It was funny. So, I was in the state, and I had a friend who was a trainer, a personal trainer, and I was talking to her, and I'm like, "I don't know what I'm gonna do. I gotta make some money," like the whole whining thing. And, she said, "Well, you know what? Why don't you become a health coach?" And this was before coaching was like a thing. I mean, this is like
Mhm.
8 years ago, whatever. And I said, I go, "That's not real." "What are you talking about? That's not a real thing." She goes, "No, it is. It is. Honestly, try it." So that's how I looked into the whole coaching industry. Right? And of course, I didn't become a health coach. I was doing other coaching, but I started off in that, and that's how I met other people that helped me and became my coaches.
Okay.
So by me
That's,
in sort of investigating what I could do, I learned that like I'm not in a position to help people till I fix myself. Right.
mhm,
So I met all these amazing people on all these, I went to conferences, I went to seminars, and I met all these amazing people. And even through it, and it continues, it always goes on, it never ends.
mhm.
Writing my 2 books, I thought, supposedly I'm fixed because I'm writing books now, but I met even more amazing people doing that. So it's always there's always room for improvement, wherever you get to, of course. So
Facts. There's always room for improvement. And you just mentioned you wrote your 2 books. Tell us about those.
so the first book is called Fearful to Fabulous. Can't remember the second, the Woman's Guide to something or other. Um, and it's basically got 7 steps in it to help you move on after divorce. And then the second book covers some of the same stuff, but it's also covers more about, it's called Too Scared to Love Again. And it's
Ooh.
called The Divorced Women's Guide to Sidestepping the Red Flags. Um, something a delight in dating. That's what it's about. Because what I realized after working with so many women is, yeah, they want to move on. And this advice about finding a new man, not the best advice, but a lot of people do want to try and find a new relationship. And what
Mhm.
in the book, it just basically talks about how that's a great thing, and I'm all for it. This is what I went through, but this is what you need to do before you're really ready to find a new relationship.
Right.
Otherwise, you just keep repeating the same patterns. You end up with basically the same guy in a different package, right?
Right.
That's believe me, I went through a few of those. I always say that like my dating life, and now I'm in a wonderful relationship, by the way, just this amazing man who's fabulous. Um, but I always say that my dating life, what it was like I started at the bottom, and every guy that I went with got slightly better, and I was like crawling out of a little hole. And they were like a little ladder, like this guy taught me this, and this guy taught me I don't need to put up with that, and this guy's like that, you know what I mean? And then
Mhm.
finally I'm like, okay, I found one who's got like everything now.
That is awesome. That is so awesome. And if there's someone out there that's going through a similar situation, or they want coaching or need coaching, how could they connect or contact you?
I'm on social media, Fiona dot, yes, oh, I can't remember it now. Fab with Fiona is what it is. FAB with Fiona. FAB dot with dot Fiona is on Instagram. I'm on, if you just look me up on Facebook, you'll find me, Fiona Eckersley. Um, I also have a website, which is a lot easier to remember, FionaEckersleyCoaching.com, where you can find a lot of information and how to contact me if you want to talk to me, because I'll talk to you for free. I'm happy to chat and give you some information. Um, but I also would love if your viewers would like it. I have my book, Too Scared to Love Again. I can send it to anybody that would like it as a PDF copy to their inbox. If they're happy to share their email with me through you, I will send them a free copy because that's a really good place
Yes.
to start.
That's
Yeah.
oh, thank you. Thank you. So y'all hear that, okay? Everybody out there listening in the audience. Too scared to love again. I love the title, first of all, because people are scared to love again, especially when you've been hurt and you've gone through the trauma and the emotional roller coaster. That is going to be a resource that plenty of you out there listening may need to get. So make sure when you listen to this, when you watch this at the end, if you watch all the way to the end, I will have all of her information, all of her links, and information for her books. So please make sure you stay till the end. Now, I do want to ask you this because I know we talked about the divorce and how you went through the mental, emotional, social, and status of life change. How or what would you say to encourage someone that's going through the same situation that you went through?
All right. Well, first, I would definitely say, you know what? If you're going through it or you've been through it, it is literally one of them. It's recordable, one of the most traumatic experiences that anybody can deal with. So I'm saying to you, if you've been through it, you're still here, right? You might not feel that you're great, but the truth is you made it, you're here, and even though you don't realize it yet, you're totally fabulous and you can do it. That's what I would say. I mean, there are steps to follow. I could, if you want some tips, I can give some tips to, you know, a few things that you might want to do. First of all, like I said, the habits that are holding you back, look at the habits you might be doing that are holding you back and see if there's anything you can substitute instead. Because, shopping and eating are wonderful things, but 10 minutes after you've done them, you feel horrible about yourself. And it just brings you right back down there, right? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Finances, those are scary. I used to stick my head in the sand. I'm not going to worry about that. It'll be fine, right? But then every night you're stressed out. How am I going to pay those bills? What am I going to do? Do I have enough money? So what I found was if you really take a hard look at what's coming in and what's coming out, even if you find out that, oh my God, like I'm going to have a hard time, I'm going to have to think about how I spend my money, it literally gives you control. And it's very freeing, right? It's empowering because you've got control of your life then, even if you don't like it, rather than
Mhm.
stressing out. I would say the other thing is if you are dealing with your ex and it's a stressful situation, you really want to manage the conflict. I had a lot of conflict with mine. And as soon as I realized that it didn't really matter what he thought about me, that was, again, very empowering. Like, I don't care. And that literally took me years to
Mhm.
suddenly go like, I would think to myself, oh, Jim wouldn't like that. And then I'd be like, one day I go, so what? Maybe that's a bonus, right? Maybe it's a good thing. So yeah, there's things like that. As we talked about social relationships, you've got to reconnect with your vision for what your relationships are. Think about how you can still find healthy support, and anybody that let you go, you don't want them anyway. Those people are not important to you. If they don't like the way you're changing, then don't hang on to them because they're not really invested in you. They're invested in their vision of what you're supposed to be like, right? So that's the other thing. And again, the last one I think I'm going to say today is if you really want to start dating, don't listen to anybody else. You decide what you want to do. There is no right or wrong time. Okay. I could tell you, no, don't start dating. You need to fix yourself. But if you really want to, what I would say is use the lessons that you're learning from your past relationship and from any relationships you get into now. Use those lessons to figure out the relationship you deserve and what you want, rather than repeating the patterns that you've had in the past. So you don't end up with that same guy every time.
Yes, those are amazing words of wisdom. Oh, and I love how you said that don't worry about what they think about you. Don't worry about what he thinks about you. Don't worry about what she thinks about you because that's their opinion of you. And especially if you're not together anymore, their opinion doesn't matter anyway.
Exactly, exactly. The worst thing that happens is what you say to yourself, because honestly, you are listening. You know what I mean?
Mhm,
Even when you walk past the mirror and you're like, ugh, you're listening to that. It
mhm.
seems like a small thing, but it's important to always try to feel good about yourself. When you say to yourself, if you do something wrong at work and you're like, oh, I'm so clumsy or I'm so stupid, don't say that. Don't say that, because the more you say it, and if you say it out loud, people are listening and they're like, oh yeah, she is kind of clumsy. You know, they start to agree with you, and it becomes a
And you start to
self-fulfilling
believe
prophecy.
it.
Yeah, exactly. So don't do that to yourself, you know?
That's true. Your words are very powerful.
Yeah.
And thank you so much because as we wrap up, I just want to thank you, Miss Fiona, for all of your words of wisdom, your encouragement. Thank you for sharing your story because I know that there's someone out there in the audience who may be going through a similar situation, maybe going through that divorce right now, or maybe in that 5 year span of the emotional roller coaster. And I know that your story is going to help and encourage someone to say, you know what? If she can do it, I can do it too.
Definitely.
So thank you for that. Now, as we wrap up another episode of What's Your Mess, I'd like to leave you all with a powerful quote to take with you throughout your days. If you want to be sad, keep thinking about the past. If you want to be anxious or worried, think about the future. But if you want to be happy, focus on your present day and be grateful for the things that you have. This is Tracey D. Armstrong with What's Your Mess. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Have a good one, y'all. Okay, there we go.
That was a great quote.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm trying to make sure we stop recording.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for everything. I appreciate your patience with me this morning and all the technical problems.
So as I said, I've been there, believe me.
And what I will do is, like I was telling you, I'll send this recording to you. It'll be today. I'll send it to you later on today. But your episode, I was looking at the calendar. It'll come out sometime mid-August. We're at the end of July, mid-August, and I'll email you with all of the information. Now, if you don't mind, if you can send me, I know you sent me your picture, but if you could send me the information about your books and the titles of your books
Okay.
and the link to your website,
Okay.
that way I'll put it on there so people can contact you that way also.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's great. So I'm going to Greece for 3 weeks in August, but I'm going to take my computer with me so that I'll be able to get on and, share it with social media and stuff. So yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Awesome. All
All
right.
right. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
It's lovely
You
to
have
meet
a
you.
great day.
Okay. Thanks. Bye.
Bye bye.